Hey everyone, we're here in Madagascar, and in this video, we're going to highlight everything you need to know before you go. So hope you enjoy it. Exploring Madagascar is an incredible adventure, but planning a journey through this vast, rugged island can feel challenging, especially if it's your first time. We felt the same way before we embarked on our 3-week journey. This is the third video in our Madagascar series, and you might have already watched our 10 best places to visit and the perfect road trip itinerary. But before you head out, there's one last piece of the puzzle. In this video, we're breaking down 10 things to know before you go, to ensure your trip is as safe and smooth as possible. Now let's dive in. We are Zach and Ina. We make helpful videos about destinations around the world so you can easily plan your own adventures. Beyond its famous lemurs and baobab trees, Madagascar is a country defined by a profound and sometimes shocking economic reality. It consistently ranks among the poorest nations in the world, and it's essential to arrive with your expectations calibrated accordingly. This isn't a destination where you should expect the seamless efficiency, infrastructure, or service standards of a highly developed country. Whether it's intermittent power in your hotel, long wait times for meals, or unexpected shifts in your itinerary, remember that these challenges are part of the reality of life here. Patience and a flexible mindset are the most important things you can bring for your trip. This is also a deeply traditional nation where life is inextricably linked to the land. Agriculture is the backbone of society, and rice cultivation is the very heart of existence for many people. You'll see endless green paddies stretching toward the horizon. These are usually tended by hand and serve as the main source of nutrition for families who live almost entirely off what they can harvest. Madagascar is generally welcoming, but it's wise to stay informed. Politically, the country can experience periods of instability, which can occasionally manifest as protests in major cities or disruptions to fuel and transport logistics. Always check your home government's latest travel advisories before departure. When it comes to personal security, exercise standard precautions. Petty crime, such as pickpocketing, can occur in crowded areas like markets or bus stations in the capital, while opportunistic theft is the primary concern in rural regions. Road safety requires equal vigilance. Never drive between cities after dark, since unlit roads and massive potholes make night travel hazardous. Historically, remote routes like the dirt road to Tsingy National Park have faced localized security concerns, such as mandatory military-escorted convoys back around 2019 due to banditry. While this was not the case when we were there, conditions in remote regions can always shift, so it's smart to check recent local updates with your car rental agency before setting off. For better peace of mind on the road, ensure you have reliable communication. We recommend picking up a local SIM card as soon as you arrive at the airport. Having a local data plan will be essential for navigation and staying in touch in case of emergencies. Telma, which is also called Yas, currently offers the best coverage across the island. Traveling to Madagascar requires proactive health planning, as medical facilities outside of the major cities are extremely limited. First and foremost, never drink the tap water. We strongly recommend using bottled or purified water for everything. Furthermore, Madagascar is a malaria endemic region, so you must consult your doctor or a travel clinic well before you leave to discuss anti-malarial medication options. Beyond medication, protect yourself against mosquito bites with high DEET repellent, especially at dawn and dusk. Finally, if you have a pre-existing condition, make sure to carry a sufficient supply of your own medications, a written prescription, and a comprehensive first aid kit that includes rehydration salts and basic antibiotics, as you can't rely on finding specialized supplies on the road. When planning your trip to this country, timing is everything. The ideal window for exploration is during the dry season, which stretches from April or May all the way through October. While it's technically possible to travel during the wet season, you should be prepared for significant disruptions. Certain remote dirt roads, such as the rugged route from Morondava up to Tsingy de Bemerau, become entirely impassable due to heavy rains and swollen river crossings, often forcing the national park to close completely. Elsewhere, you may face landslides or washed-out bridges that can halt your plans entirely. Regardless of when you go, don't rush the experience. 10 to 14 days is the absolute minimum required to see the highlights of the island, but 3 weeks is a much more realistic pace. If you're hoping to include additional destinations outside of a standard road trip, such as the Nosy Be archipelago, try to carve out 4 or 5 weeks. This will ensure you aren't spending your entire holiday in transit. Getting around Madagascar is an adventure that requires a complete reset of your driving expectations. First, don't underestimate the capital. Traffic in Tana can be paralyzing, often turning simple cross-town drives into multi-hour ordeals. Always build in generous buffers for your arrival and departure. Even better, treat every transit in Madagascar as a full-day commitment, and your journey will be significantly less stressful. Once you hit the open road, the infrastructure challenge begins. The roads are notoriously rough, featuring sparse pavement sections and a high density of potholes that make travel times significantly longer than they appear on a map. For our trip, we mainly followed the RN7 from Tana to Toliara. While this is officially the country's primary highway, it's exceptionally windy and riddled with deep potholes, which require constant vigilance to avoid vehicle damage. You'll share these narrow stretches with heavy trucks, taxi-brus minibuses, pedestrians, cyclists, and roaming zebu, all while passing through a constant stream of villages where life spreads out along the roadside. Once we left the main roads around Ifati and headed toward Morondava and the Tsingy National Park area, the experience shifted from difficult to expedition level. In these regions, the roads are predominantly deep sand and dirt, often involving river crossings. A standard vehicle will not survive these tracks, and even a robust 4x4 requires professional driving techniques to maintain momentum. Google Maps is often useless in these zones, and phone reception also vanishes. So navigation relies entirely on local knowledge rather than digital tools. Whether you choose to self-drive or hire a local driver, you'll be challenged at some level, both physically and mentally, due to the conditions. We only recommend self-driving if you have significant experience with sand navigation and fixing 4x4 vehicles. If you're not an experienced off-road driver, the risks are high. We heard reports from other travelers who faced several challenges, ranging from mechanical failures to being hopelessly stuck in soft sand for hours or even overnight. The roads in this country are no joke. Hiring a local driver is not just a convenience, but often a necessity for safety and peace of mind, as they possess the road sense to anticipate hazards that a visitor simply would not see. You can find the contact information for the company and local driver we booked with in the description below this video. Madagascar isn't a destination where you can rely on digital payments, so remember that cash is king here. Card acceptance is extremely limited, and because cash machines often have strict withdrawal caps of 800,000 ariary, which is roughly $185 or 165 euro, it's often more practical to bring enough hard currency to exchange upon arrival. Bread is generally the most reliable bank for international cards, and it was frankly the only one that seemed to work for us, so keep an eye out for those branches. Try to avoid withdrawing money at the very end of the month, as locals are often paid at that time, which leads to long queues at the ATMs and a high risk that the machines will run out of money entirely. Keep a steady supply of smaller denominations on hand for the local tipping culture. It's standard practice to tip every park guide at least 20,000 ariary, and having these funds ready makes your daily excursions much smoother. If you hire a driver guide, you'll also need to tip them at the end of the trip, which usually averages out to about 5 to 10 euros per day in the local currency. Finally, despite what some budget blogs might suggest, Madagascar is not exactly a cheap destination. While you can certainly get by on a local level, the cost of a 4x4 rental, mandatory park fees, and guide services for each activity really add up. So it's best to budget comfortably to avoid financial stress along the way. Madagascar is a rugged and authentic destination where the experience is rarely perfectly groomed. Even in national parks, you should expect trails that involve climbing over boulders, bushwhacking, or using ropes to navigate the uneven terrain. A unique aspect of visiting here is that you're almost always required to hire a local guide when visiting national parks and reserves. It's a great way to support the local economy and gain deeper insights into the island's distinct wildlife and culture that you would absolutely miss on your own. It's important to note that you can't use your own private driver for these guided adventures, as park regulations require you to use guides specifically based in that area. Our driver had established connections with excellent local guides in most parks, which made the process seamless. If you're traveling independently, however, you'll simply head to the national park entrance, where you'll register and be assigned a guide. In fact, you'll find that this is the standard practice throughout the country, even outside of official national parks. Guides are generally very friendly, and while the primary language is Malagasy, many are multilingual, often speaking French, English, or German, which makes connecting with them and learning about the landscape much easier. Dining in Madagascar is an interesting experience, as it's much more common to eat your meals at your hotel rather than at street-side eateries. It's not generally recommended to eat at casual local restaurants or at street vendors, as hygiene standards are pretty limited once you get outside the major cities. During our trip, we only felt comfortable eating out independently in places like Antananarivo, Antsirabe, and Morindava. For our lunch stops along the road, we always relied on hotel restaurants that our driver already knew and trusted, which were typically filled with other travelers. For lunch or dinner, be sure to try zebu when you get the chance. This is the national animal, and it's a delicious high-quality staple food of the country, which you'll see on most menus. Thanks for watching, and we hope you enjoyed it. If you're planning a trip to Madagascar, don't miss our top 10 places to visit and full road trip route videos. We'll catch you on the next adventure.